Welcome to the Plentiful Goddess podcast. My name is Jessica Carb, and I'm a holistic coach for women, certified vegan nutritionist, fitness trainer, yogi, and Reiki master. I have coached hundreds of women worldwide, and I made it my mission to help women from all around the world transform their lives and health in ways they didn't think was possible. If you're looking to uplevel your health, learn about the best practical tips on vegan health and fitness, master your menstrual cycle, improve your relationship with food, and so much more, so that you can reconnect with the powerful woman that you're meant to be, then you have come to the right place. My goal in this podcast is for you to help you step up your game, reconnect with yourself as a woman, and elevate your health and life. We are going to have so much fun in this podcast. Are you ready? Let's begin. Hello, my plentiful goddess. Thank you so much for turning on this podcast today and deciding to listen to it. I really appreciate you. So I'm excited for this episode. I'm sure you are too. I interviewed my beautiful client that worked with me for 4 months, Nupur, and she had such an amazing transformation within the program. And I saw so many, not only physical changes on her, but a lot of mindset shifts, a lot of inner work that we did as well. And I am just so freaking proud of her. And I needed to get her on. I wanted her to share her story because you know what? I want you to get inspired as well. I want you to see that it's possible wherever you are starting, wherever you are, whatever point you have been, whatever you have experienced so far, this is all really possible for you. And I want to show you this with this amazing episode. Really, in this episode, we cover everything from her health journey to also how much she had to work on her mind and change a couple of limiting beliefs that were holding her back in really being her true self and being her most authentic self. And now she is a beautiful, plentiful goddess, and I'm so excited to share her story with you. Before we get started, as always, I would really appreciate if you could give me a like, a review, whatever it is, a follow on Spotify or on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. It would really mean the world to me if you just took 5 to 10 seconds out of your beautiful life to give and share some love. That would really help the podcast grow, of course. So thank you so much if you do that. And yeah, let's get started. So Nupur, I'm so excited to have you on my podcast here today. You have been working with me for 4 months in the Plentiful program, and you joined, I think now it's going to be over 5 months ago, right? We just started working together. And I really wanted to have you on this podcast because I feel like we worked through so much together and I've seen amazing transformation with you, which I'm very excited for you to share with us. But I'd love for you to just quickly introduce yourself, to the audience, tell us who you are, what you do, where you're from, and yeah, everything that you would like to share with us.
Perfect. Amazing. I love that, Jessica. Thank you. And I've been looking forward to this podcast too. I've been really excited about it. Just to, I guess, share how different changes and transformations can sort of come up, and it doesn't have to be linear, or it doesn't have to mean the number on the scale, I guess, even if that does end up coming sometimes. So I am Nupur. If the name sounds strange to some people, it's because I am from India, but I'm currently living in Dublin for the past 3 years. I work in advertising, so I have a very proper 9 to 6 desk job. Even with the pandemic, the schedule sort of has stayed the same, and sometimes I've found myself opening my emails at 10 p.m. or opening my emails at 6 a.m. when I've gotten up. So yeah, it's been a very interesting period of work and life. And I know a lot of things have changed for people during the pandemic. Some people had it really tough. But for me, I think it gave me an opportunity to sort of retreat and focus on what's really important for me. And that's been really nice. And we can dig into that a bit later. But yeah, that's my story in a minute.
I love that. So can you tell us a little bit more about before you joined or before we got to know each other, if you were vegan before, or like, because I know, in India, it's very common to be vegetarian, right? You do
Yeah.
consume a lot of dairy. I remember when I was there, dairy is like the thing in everything and
Yeah.
everywhere. So how was that for you?
Oh God, yes. So I have been vegetarian all my life, and I didn't even consume eggs until I was like 17 or 18. I think I only started taking it because I went to a gym and they were like, you should just add eggs because of protein. Like I remember literally forcing myself to have eggs because it had protein in it and I was required to have it by the gym trainer back home. And I genuinely never liked egg. And I think eventually I found ways to like it because you have to sort of figure out. But yeah, I was always vegetarian and I knew in my heart that I have to make the transition. But it was really tough because I think one of the biggest things to recognize is that when you're a vegetarian, um, milk doesn't cause that kind of a strong aversion like morally that meat does for me, and maybe because that was a norm for me, so I can completely understand for a meat eater to make that change and feel like that's odd, like why should I give this up because it's normalized so much. But just because it's normalized doesn't mean it's normal. And I think that was my biggest lesson, that if milk has been normalized through my culture, it doesn't mean it's actually normal to consume it at all, the way we are consuming it. So it's funny because even this time when I went to India, just before going to India in November, I committed that I'll commit to veganism. And I would, anyone who's listening to this, if you're on the edge of committing, you don't have to do it overnight. It doesn't have to be black or white. It can just be a commitment towards moving into this lifestyle, because I think the more gentle you are and compassionate you are, the more compassionate choices you'd make. And or that is how it was for me. So I watched Dominion with my boyfriend. We both cried, and he's a very like all in all out guy. So overnight he was vegan, and no problem. He just decided that's what he's going to do. For me, it was very, very tricky because, as you said, milk has a huge focus in India. So the one thing I just had to sort of change, not that I was having cheese too much, not that I was drinking milk anymore or having yogurt. It was just the idea that the never of it is what was bothersome, of like, morally I can never have milk. And so I remember when I went to India initially, for like the whole week, my mom was like, no, just have a little bit of ghee. What's the problem with ghee? Just like have some. And I understand where she's coming from, because for 27 years I've eaten certain way, and suddenly now I'm telling her I have all these boundaries of, I will not eat this, I won't eat egg, I won't eat paneer. And she was like, she thought this is like an emotional eating disorder. And I understand her perspective on it, of just like, she was like, you're just cutting out everything. So what is it that you're going to eat? And I was like, I'll be fine. Like, there's so many options there. And she was like, yeah, but while you're here, there are no options. So I did still consume some milk while I was in India, because like it just isn't the food that was made at home, and I didn't want to make my stay difficult for myself or for my mom. So yeah, I think being kind to yourself in certain situations is fine. And I did decide that, okay, when I'm in India, I will be okay with some things being this way or that way. So my view of veganism so far, because I've committed to it in a very new way, is be gentle. And if situations come up where it's really difficult and it can put a lot of resistance, then do not think that, oh, just because I can't do it today means that that's it, I'm going back to my old ways. Because once I was back from India, I didn't consume milk like until I was in London recently, when I think in one pasta there was some milk. But even that, it's so funny what changes. It's like I have grown up doing this, but when I had that dish, I felt so guilty. So there is a thing that changes in your mind. And I think just that awareness will not want you to have it. So the way my boyfriend describes this, it was just amazing. It's like he doesn't feel the craving. If there is a craving to fight, it is more difficult. So if constantly you're thinking about, but only if I could have that pizza, only if I could have that pizza, then it is difficult. And then maybe you should try to have that pizza and see what happens. Like, do you really like it? Does it really make a huge difference? The alternatives, are they really not working for you? And experiment. I think life is about experimentation. The only problem begins is like when it's taken as activism, then it becomes difficult to like not experiment yourself. And when you're transitioning into something, it's okay to figure out your own boundaries. So I would just say that it's something you're putting in your body. It's a moral choice you're making. So yeah, it's been tricky for me with respect to milk, but now I have a trick. Every time I think of milk, I'm just like, oh, milk bus, I know where it comes from. And I'm just like, ew, I don't want it. So it's like you're playing a mind trick with yourself, but it works. So yeah, different things for different people.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's important that you mentioned that it's okay to, I wouldn't even say make mistakes because it's not a mistake, but with your actions, you're already impacting, or you're having already such a huge impact, and you're also influencing the people around you, right? And I feel like sometimes what you said, it can be so black and white and putting people into positions where, I've been vegan now, I don't even know for how many years, 3.5, 4, something like this. And
Mm.
in these years, I did still make, it's called it mistakes, where I wasn't even aware that something had
Exactly.
milk X in it.
Yeah.
And it still keeps happening, but I'm okay with it because the conscious choices that I make them, when I know, okay, I know that something is 100% vegan. Sometimes the choice is not always on my side. When I go to a restaurant and that person tells me, yeah, 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 it's vegan, and then you eat it,
Yeah.
or you're like, is it really? And then you actually
Yeah.
double check and they tell you like, no, it wasn't vegan, and you already ate the entire dish, right? And then these
Yeah.
things can happen. And what you say, like exceptions as well, right? I feel like it just becomes very toxic when people are judged as well for their choices. But I also feel like we are living in such a wonderful age, and what you said, like London is like such a veganized city where I feel like you can get anything vegan that you want, right? Without
Yeah.
any problem. And also the fact that what you said, like pizza. What about vegan pizza, right? There's so much
Yeah.
vegan shit out
Exactly.
there. There's like, I believe we live in a time and age when you are in a Western society and you have the
Yeah.
possibility, you have the money, you have the resources. I believe like it's entirely in your power because your choices will always affect what's going to
Yeah.
happen in the next month, year, 10 years, 20 years. But if you are from India, for example, and you
Yeah.
don't have a lot of money, and that's the resources that you have, then that's completely different.
Yeah.
Sometimes you forget, like we don't grow up all with the same, I wouldn't say call it luck, but like the same amount of money, the same amount of resources
Yeah.
that other people in poorer countries do, or in countries where the resources are limited. And that's why dairy is so huge as well in India, right? Because it's like, when I spoke to people, there's like they cannot imagine a life without dairy. Even though I was like 100% vegan, I only make one exception because
Yeah.
one thing I was very annoyed by is that all of your sweets and desserts always had milk in it, or ghee,
Yeah.
or
All of them do. Yes.
all of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I only like I remember I tasted a small bite of one thing because everyone was eating it, and I was like, I just want to taste it, and I just had like a bite
Yeah.
of because I wanted to taste how your
Yeah.
desserts taste. But that was the only exception that I made.
Mm.
And I was very lucky as well because I was hosted by my best friend's family, and they like completely accepted that I was like vegan, and they only cooked vegan stuff for me, and it was such a wonderful experience because I love your food. Like I just like am
Yes.
obsessed with everything Indian food.
I
So
love it too. It's just you find replacement. It's very easy. I think it's definitely a mental block because if you can just not add ghee, you can just change ghee into a different oil. So I definitely think it's more of like people who are used to cooking a certain way, they just can't imagine the alternatives, but alternatives exist. In London, we had a vegan pizza, and honestly, I don't remember the taste of real cheese anymore. And this is another thing that I want to tell people that, like, how sometimes you're like, I just cannot imagine giving up cheese. It's because it is genuinely addictive. It has a compound in it that is addictive. So the less you have it, just like start cutting it down. If you're having it every single day, start cutting it down and see if you still feel the same craving, because I don't. And I genuinely can have anything and be like, oh, yeah, I don't even remember what that tasted like. This tastes great. And Domino's does a vegan pizza now, which is, I mean, what I'm seeing now is incredible. That all of these big chains are having like one vegan option in their menu, which is incredible. It just like makes life so much easier.
Exactly.
But yeah, definitely has been very amazing to even see the transition of things happening in Dublin too, of like so many new vegan places coming up or just plant-based options coming up, which are great.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that. And also, like, even in my small town where I'm originally from in Germany, like, I never thought there would be vegan options. And here we are, coffee places offering vegan stuff. And it's so wonderful to see that. Because we are, at the end of the day, changing the world with our actions, right? So tell me, I don't even recall. I know we were talking on Instagram, then we got on our first call. Tell me, why did you decide to reach out to me in the first place? Because you were already like almost vegan, but you had a couple of things that you wanted to change. So tell me what it was.
Yeah. Okay, so that's an interesting journey. And I think that ties a lot into like why the changes that I've felt are so much bigger than physical changes, right? So in the beginning of lockdown, I I think it just like switched something. I definitely have a lot of like capacity to get distracted. So if I see something new, I'm like, ooh, let's do this. And I recognize that eventually of how bad YouTube or Instagram can be for me personally. And I know some people have much better, I guess, willpower. So I deleted the apps off of my phone. Can't really delete YouTube, but have made it a rule to like only watch it when I'm in the bathroom. So just like do it only when I'm there. So it just like simplifies things a bit. And I realized that what it was doing for me is causing the yo-yo habit. So anyone who feels they yo-yo a lot, it's because you're consuming a lot of content which says do this in 2 weeks and lose 20 pounds by doing this in 3 weeks, or follow just this military diet, or follow this thing. And I feel that anything that you do which is like a short spurt to get somewhere and then you don't know how to maintain will never work. I think it just cannot work, because now you will go back to your own ways, and the old ways were the ones that got you to that place in the first place. So if you're not relearning things of how to get somewhere, then I think it'll be very difficult to maintain it. So in during the lockdown, I picked up really good habits, such as like I have always a yoga mat out. So it's easy for me to just get down, start working out, start doing yoga. I improved my eating habits a lot. I did intermittent fasting, which is a very, very good tool for people who do not want to count calories or macros, to just cut out calorie, because at the end of the day it is about calorie deficit, but it's also about what you're putting in that calorie deficit. So when people say if it fits your calories, I don't think that's a good way to look at it, because food is so much more than just like macros. It's also nourishment, which I loved about your plan, how whole food plant based it was. It was incredible to just eat that volume of food. um, and I think I reached a point where I had like lost 7 kilos already. And I reached a point where I was like, okay, the mindset I basically reached out to you for was I want to lose like fat, have muscle, and I just want to understand how to just get a meal plan, work on it. Right? That was the mindset I got into this, because I needed someone else to just teach me or show me a plan and then really commit myself to it, because it was getting very overwhelming. Of like lots of like, oh yeah, you could have this, but it's calorie dense, high carb, like vegan food is high carb. And now I'm just like, oh god, if I can delete something from this entire conversation, it's the word high carb, because that like destroys so many people. People are scared of eating bananas and potatoes when you should really be scared of eating like any highly processed food with 20 ingredients in it. So it's like, don't eat bananas, they have lots of carbs. And you're like, no, but they also have lots of nutrition, which is really good for your body's repair. So anyway, when I reached out to you, I just needed a plan to stick to it. And I was also looking for a woman coach. I was very, very intentional about reaching out to you, because I did not want a guy to train me. The earlier times that I've been trained, it's the way I think some things that get lost in translation is just the period cycle. It is completely different. The second thing that gets lost in translation is just like, suck it up, just have 140 grams of protein. Like, how difficult can it be? Sort of a thing. Or like, just chug 2 protein shakes in a day and that should be fine. So I think I was very intent on finding a woman coach who's probably been through something psychologically herself. And as we saw, it's not linear, the process of losing weight. It's not like a very simple equation of in and out. And we saw that because we saw that in a very controlled environment of calories. And we can talk about that more. But yeah, that was the time I reached out to you, where I was happy where I was, but I really wanted to then take the next steps. Exactly. And so what I was saying is, like, I was very intentional about reaching out to you. I remember going on Instagram web, like I logged in Instagram.com. And then I remember just like searching for vegan coach women. And I know it's not the best search platform, but it did give up a couple of results. And I reached out to you, and I reached out to another person too at the time, I remember. But you responded, and I was like, yeah, this feels good. I saw your page and how focused it was on just holistic nutrition and health and conversation about the emotional aspect of it all, which is the game. I would say that if someone says, what's the name of the game? I would say it's like psychology. You have to be in a place where you can figure it out. It's not what you put in your body which comes second. How much you work out is definitely the last. I would say when people split ends on like what kind of workout I should be doing, just move. Go for a walk twice a day. That's it. Don't complicate it. That's not the thing. It definitely is like first your psychology, and then so if you're getting overwhelmed, start with that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for getting on a topic so quickly, because that's exactly what I've been trying to communicate with my audience recently as well. It's kind of the thing where I feel like a lot of people come to me first because they're like, oh, I want to lose weight and I have not been able to do it. I've been on millions of diets, da 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 da. And I always try to take them a step back and be like, okay, well, why did you get there in the first place? And what is holding you back right now from losing weight yourself? Because we all know that salads are
Yeah.
healthy, it is good. And we
Yes,
all know that
exactly.
you shouldn't be eating fast food every day. We all know the basics of nutrition or health,
Yeah.
right? But there is a reason why more and more people are getting more obese or overweight and are getting sicker
Yeah.
and sick, because it's a psychological aspect. And
Yeah.
so when you leave inner healing and mindset and everything that is connected to emotions and traumas, if you leave that out, you will never get to the core of the reason in the first place why you got there, and you will never really experience a sustainable lifestyle that you can
Yeah.
have forever. And so I remember with you, what you said, like you are a person that questions something very quickly. If in the first
Yeah.
week it didn't happen, right? You're like, I don't see any
Yeah.
changes, change stuff. And I'm like, whoa, 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 okay, let's take a step back. You're not a machine, girl. There's more
Yeah.
to it than just like a week of not seeing your scale move. These things will happen. We are, especially as women, we experience weight loss, we experience different things, right? So it's just so important to look at all of the aspects. And I also remember the relationship with food that you had has
Yeah.
also been kind of up and down. Like sometimes you've been very positive about it, and sometimes
Yeah.
I remember things would come up. So can you tell us a little bit more about, how you would describe that for yourself and how you've been able to work through that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so much to say on that. I mean, I can spend hours just talking about how someone just even gets to a page of like psychologically ignoring their health. And I think that you nailed it on the head when you said everyone knows healthy food is healthy. There is no discussion about that. If you put like a piece of like cheese on one side and an apple on the other, and you ask someone, what do you think is more nutritious, right? One would say an apple. Like, no doubt, people would know that. So I think what used to happen a lot with me is that I grew up in a culture of internet bombardment or just like do this fast, get these results fast. And I think that a lot of that got impacted when I was like 22, 23, and didn't really know anything about nutrition. There is obesity in my family, like my mom's side, my mom's mom. And I had sort of just accepted, I think there was a deep psychological thing of just like acceptance that that's how it's going to be and everything's against me and that it will just not work out. And so I would do something for a week, which would be very restrictive, very tough. And I'll give you an example of that, which was horrible. And then you'd do that, you'd feel shitty because, yeah, you're undernourishing your body in all ways possible. Your body is doing so many incredible things. I work in a very demanding job where I am present socially, I'm present professionally, and then you're also moving your body through the day and you're coming and you're not nourishing your body. And I think that's got to fail at some point. And so what used to happen was I developed the cycle of restricting myself a lot, and then just going on a cycle of feeling like that didn't do anything, because yeah, it doesn't do anything in a week or two. And then going on another cycle of just like, okay, now I'll eat whatever I want because nothing is going to change anyway. So yeah, that continued for a while. And I remember that I did start approaching health in a healthier way, just maybe had a couple of unfortunate encounters, because I remember joining an incredible reviewed place here called Body something. I don't remember the name of it. It was a 1 month program. It was quite boutique and expensive, in which they would send me 3 meals a day. So they send you all the food. I thought, wow, yes, the biggest part, salt. They send me the food. But it wasn't known for their plant-based foods. So what I ended up getting was 900 calories, but salad would have nothing substantial. So literally no tofu, no tempeh, no beans. And I was just like, what am I eating? So I did lose a lot of weight, but I was tired, I was hungry in a month, and I remember them sending me an email saying, could you review this? I was so pissed off. I did not even reply to them. I was like, like I did give feedback eventually of just like, next time when someone joins who has um like food specificities in terms of allergy, or in terms of like if they're plant-based, you should have more options that are substantial than that. So I think when I was initially doing this with you, I was like, oh God, this is not working. Like, it's like, it's a knee jerk reaction of like, nothing has worked before. Why will this work? Just not trusting the process, I think. So there was definitely a trust issue with me. And I sent you a voice message saying, Jess, I ate too much. Like it said to eat this much. Ate this much. Now I'm bursting. I know it's only 1,300 calories, but I'm dying. It's so full. And you were like, why didn't you stop? And that was so refreshing to me, of just like, respond to your own hunger. There'll be days you'll be more hungry. There'll be days you'll be less hungry. That this is why I feel, for me or people who relate to me, calorie counting is a tricky thing, because if you put a hard limit of 1,300 calories, you are not actually eating according to your body. Your body might need more volume of food some days, and it might need less volume of food some days. And I think that was the point that changed a few things um, for me, where I just had to recognize that, oh my God, if she, as a coach who's vested in this program because she wants me to see results, can say, respond to your hunger, why am I not saying that for myself? Because I should be even more vested in my own health, right? So yeah, that did change a few things for me.
I love that. Yeah, thank you so much for clarifying. And I'm sure that, people listening to this can relate so much to what you just said, because so many that have been on a health journey for years have been going through cycles of like restricting, then binging, restricting, binging, not seeing results, seeing results, and then always going back and forth, and like really feeling overwhelmed with their choices and trying so many different things, like you, that food delivery service or any other like quick fixes online. And that's also, why I try to position, this as not a quick fix and a fitness program. Because first of all, we as women, we shouldn't be following a strict fitness program like it is known, because we are not men, and most
Yeah.
research not on men. And that's why we as women get so confused, like you did, of like, why is this not working for me properly? And why do I end up then binging after, of course, you've been on 900 calories and you've starved your body, and your
Yeah.
body needs calories, your body wants energy, your body needs
Yeah.
nutrients. And of course, you're going to go to the first source that is going to give you quick energy, which is therefore going to be like,
Yeah.
fast food, anything like this. Um, and so also what you said, like we actually just talked about that yesterday in the call, in our group call, of like understanding that, yes, I will give you a meal plan, but this is not a set plan for every single day.
Exactly.
And this is to give you an idea of what meals you should be consuming and around what range of macronutrients it is going to give you what your body needs and going to give you the
Yeah.
energy that it needs and balance your blood sugar and balance your mood. But on some of the days when you went on a 10-mile hike or something,
Oh
or
yeah, I don't.
a 2-hour yoga session, or you did, a hard workout, you're going to
Yeah.
be more hungry on that day. And if you don't eat on
Exactly.
that day, the next day your body is going to tell you that you need more nutrition because, of course, you've been burning a lot more. And in order
Yeah.
to sustain it, you will need more calories, right? And so I feel like we've been always going back and forth with that a lot, of like me
Yeah.
trying to tell you, like, girl, eat or don't eat. Because I
Yeah.
remember been through times where you're like, okay, this week I'm only gonna be on 1,300 calories, and I was like, is it gonna work? Like,
Yeah.
be honest with yourself. Like, is that actually
Yeah.
gonna work? Because it's not how we're as humans are designed to live. Again, for men, this is a complete different thing. But
Yeah.
also, remember when we talked about the luteal phase and the
Yeah.
phase that your period, how you should be actually eating even more because
Yeah.
your metabolism increases. So can you tell us more like how that was for you? Also learning how to work with your menstrual cycle. I think that has been huge for you, of you
Yeah.
understanding what goes on, how you've been able to adjust your workouts and also your
Yeah.
nutrition around that. I would love to hear your side on that.
Yeah, what's been fascinating for me is like my one period to another is always a little bit different. And I understand why that might be because my health is continually improving. So my body is responding differently to it. I think just before my period hits, I get very just like a drop in energy. I don't know how many people feel this, but physically, my bones, they feel like it would be too much to stand. Like it feels like my muscles just want to lay down horizontally, and that's what it is. And not just that, emotionally completely depleted, do not want any social time. Hunger wise, definitely feel more hungry. And I think that I've understood one thing. um, Hunger is fine, and craving is what we add to it. So I don't think when there's this like social trope like, oh, I get the wildest cravings during my period. I think what's going on is like you're too tired, so you don't eat as much, but you're actually supposed to eat more. So I remember this past period, I called my best friend and I was like, oh God, I've been hungry all day long. But what I did all day long was like eat, still eat to my fullness, but I was eating a banana. Then I had a bowl of salad. Then I had another banana. Then I had some prunes. So everything that I was eating was whole food. I didn't have cravings. I wasn't like, it's only chocolate that's going to solve this for me. It's only this that's going to solve this for me. So I think the attachment to specific things is falling out. And I think that happens over a period of time when you've just been eating lots of whole foods. You just realize that, oh, a banana actually is the perfect dessert. Like it has the texture, it has the taste for me, and it might be another fruit for someone else. It could be a mango for some people, or I don't know, any other fruit. But I think what I realized was that yes, you do have a higher hunger. I definitely do, and I do honor that hunger, and I eat more. In workouts, what I've realized is like my cycle is quite short. It's 3 days. It's like a clockwork. It comes and goes. First day is miserable. Second day, I start getting my energy back up. So I do like body weight, slow exercises. I hate HIITs. I hate short bursts of super jumping around. And I think at some point, I really had to be honest with myself. I was like, when in my life will I use HIIT? Like, when in my life will I be asked to like do 10 burpees to like pass this exam? Never. So choose the workout you like, choose the workout your body wants to do. do not think that just because the world's on the HIIT train, you have to do HIIT. Even without HIIT, you will still build muscle. I don't know a single guy who goes to a gym to lift weights and has heavy muscles go, I do HIIT twice a week and I'm doing these workouts. It's not needed, is all I'm saying. If that floats your boat and you have fun doing it, then do it. For me, it's mostly like dance workouts, and they raise my heart rate too. Cycling, I love cycling, that raises my heart rate too. So find a high intensity workout that you like, but you don't have to do the videos in which you're jumping up and down if that's not what you want to do. I also want to add, I had knee injury, so I had to adapt a lot of my workouts, and I did, and I still went on about it. Didn't mean that I have to stop just because I can't do one sort of exercise. So yeah, during my periods, I listen to my body. I go for walks. There are days I don't do anything. I remember the first day of period, sometimes it's just like no movement, and that's okay too. I mean, if that's what my body needs, I'm going to do that. I can't imagine that in old days someone was in the periods and they were like, let me go work out right now because I must. I don't think that's a thing. I think that's a thing we are creating, and that can be very stressful for the body. So listen to yourself first and then see what else you can do. So I do believe in pushing through, but pushing through not to the point that you're actually betraying your own self.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what you said. Like, that's what society built. And that's where a lot of women feel guilty when they don't do what they think they have to do because it's on their
Yeah.
training plan. And, syncing with your cycle is one of the biggest, I think, favors that you can give your female body because
Yeah.
when you're completely out of alignment, you're not going to even feel the benefits of your cycle. Because when
Yeah.
you're out of alignment, you will not understand what's happening right now in your cycle, what you should be doing, or what will help you feel better or feel,
Yeah.
or understand what intuitively your body is telling you. So what you're saying with like the workouts, I totally agree. And that's also something that I always try to promote is like, it's movement and try to
Yes.
find things that are fun for you, right? Like I know I also go through phases where, of course, in lockdown, I didn't have access to a gym. I did mainly
Yeah.
yoga for the longest time, right? But
Yeah.
now things are open and I'm like pushing it because I finally love to I love to work out at the gym and now I'm pushing it because I'm loving it. But that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that this will go on for 4 months now. Who knows, in a month or two, I will probably start doing things that feel more intuitive again for me during this period of time, right?
Yeah.
And so we go through these cycles of understanding, there are reasons why we feel bursts of energies or why we feel like we want to rest more. And again, the more we push against it, the more we're going to create stress, what you said, in our body, but the more we're also going to hormonally imbalance our body, let's say like
Yeah.
this, because we're not fully attentive of what our body is telling us to do. And the more in tune you get, the more what you're saying as well, when you have certain cravings, these cravings mean something. They don't necessarily mean what you said, that chocolate is going to solve the problem. But a lot of times when you crave a certain thing, that means you're deficient in something as well, right?
Yeah.
So if you do crave chocolate, which a lot of women crave before their period, they're low in magnesium. And when they
Yeah.
don't understand this, they will go to chocolate and eat an entire bar and still don't feel satisfied because they're not actually having the actual nutrient that's missing in them, right? So that's
Yeah.
another thing to understand as well, that sometimes we look for the right thing that is going to help us curb our craving. And it's great that you found bananas for you, that this is really what helps you. It gives you the sweetness, it gives you the satisfaction. But a mistake in my eyes, what a lot of women do as well, is then they try to not go to the core thing, but eat everything else and still not be satisfied. And then after 1,000 or 2,000 calories, they finally eat the one thing and then they're satisfied. And then I'm like, why didn't you eat the first thing? Like, why didn't you eat in the first place? You could have heard the craving and you could have let it go and you were fine, right?
Yes.
That's another thing important, to like really allow yourself to be more in sync. And I think
Yes.
you've gotten to a point where you really allow yourself. I remember you would tell me days where like, Jess, I craved this today and I had it and I felt fine.
Yeah.
And I was good because your
Yes.
body girl, I need it. If you need more carbs, like that happens to me as well before I get my period. A lot of times I crave ramen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have one bowl of ramen and I'm satisfied and I'm done. I'm like, I don't need it for another month. But I
Yes.
allow myself to have whatever my body desires to have, right?
I think, yeah, definitely the craving thing that I said was like mostly coming from a place of like confusing what your body is wanting. So, yes, be very attentive and listen to, okay, if it's really asking for chocolate, go ahead and do it. If it like solves that thing, but mostly it's asking for something else, is what I found to be true during periods. It's a very confusing time, to be honest. Like, I burst into tears, I have the weirdest thoughts, and I accept them and I let them pass. And I know that it doesn't really mean anything. And I think that's a topic that we can discuss some other time, but it's really something that needs to be discussed. So just like mental health in and around of it, and how to be kinder to yourself. One of the things about that really changed for me on this program was also guilt around eating food. Oh God, that is the cycle that sustains the whole problem. You eat something, you feel guilty, you're like, oh God, why did I eat this? I shouldn't have done this. I have not been good. This is such a toxic like idea, because as soon as you go, I've not been good, you eat more of that thing or whatever that is. You just like basically are not eating from a place of hunger anymore. So apparently I was listening to this podcast that says that guilt activates reward center. So as soon as you feel guilty, you want a reward. You feel like sad, you're just like, oh God, I'm so sad, I need to do something to solve this. And then if for you that thing is food, or it could come up as like different things for different people, um then you reach out for more. So one thing that has definitely changed is I do not have any feelings after I eat something anymore. That's it. I just ask myself a question every single time, like, am I feeling like full or not? One thing I did recognize on the trip is like, I do need fiber. I don't feel good when I don't have fibrous foods. So we definitely add like salad to whatever we were eating. Or I know that we were going to a restaurant for lunch, and I told my friend, I was like, please don't judge me, but I'm gonna have porridge when we go there. And she was laughing. She was like, no, I'm not gonna judge you, and that looks like an amazing option. The thing of like things being socially acceptable, that's another thing that you have to test your boundaries on, because sometimes it's like, no, you have to do this. If you're going out socially in a certain setting, you don't have to do nothing. You can also show up for a dinner and not have dinner, just have like a glass of water, and you can say, I'm fasting. So I think people need to be surrounded by people where they feel safe in testing their social boundaries, because anything that is socially extreme doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually biologically extreme. You could choose to not have tens of things just because you're out on a table if your body doesn't need it. So don't come under that pressure, I would definitely say. I think that changed for me. One last thing that I definitely want to add on the same topic is like how this just taught me taking care of myself in a way that I was really proud of. And I want to share this because I've never done this. And when I was going to the airport, I put a little bit of forethought of like, okay, my flight is 6 hours from now. I will be hungry for sure. I am 100% sure there will not be vegan options at the airport. There'll be a Burger King and there'll be a bakery. And I also knew that none of those foods are going to make me happy to have it as a breakfast after I've been fasting for like 14 hours of not eating. So I literally carried a box of cherries with me. And I ate cherries at the airport. Ate cherries on the flight. And I felt so, it did something for me where I was like, wow, I think I've reached a point where I really take care of myself. That's an act of self-love. Nourishing your body, choosing to care for yourself, and not thinking of like, if this is odd, or like letting these voices be in place, then yeah, that's good. I remember there's this thing which used to happen in India where people would pack their lunches whenever they went, and it became sort of a joke of like, ah, you'll get food wherever you go. But now I realize how backward that actually is. It's actually good to pack your lunch. You control the narrative of what you're putting in your body. So now I think I'll do more of that. There was definitely a period where you're shamed out of carrying a lunchbox because you're like, really? You'll get food wherever you go. Don't focus so much on food. When it's like, yeah, I'm not focusing on food, I'm focusing on nourishment, and I'm taking care of body in a way that I need to, because I know what I need to put in my body, rather than leave it for guesswork of like when I reach there and then make a hasty decision because you're hungry. So yeah, definitely definitely that. I think your program is amazing at just like unlocking a lot of things, and seeing progress in so many ways, which are like, yeah, this has set me on a good path already. So weight will come off because good habits are happening. And it might be slower. I mean, I'm really short. My height is 153 centimeters. I'm like 5 foot something. So I can only lose like, you know how people say a healthy weight to lose is like a pound a week or something, half a kilo a week. I need to be on 1100 calories to do that, and I will not do that. So a small deficit is still a deficit. So yeah, it won't be half a kilo for me, but whatever it is, it's moving in the right direction. So I have all the time in the world to get there.
Yes, I love that. I love what you said, like reframing health, right? It's not
Yes,
always about your weight. It's creating those good habits for yourself. It's creating that lifestyle for yourself. And eventually you will reach that point of like your dream goal weight. But that's not
yes,
everything. Like you have learned so
exactly.
much more about yourself. You have created all of these healthy things in your mind with your actions, that these are worth so much more than the number on your scale. And I
Yeah,
think so many people forget that, because of course we are constantly confronted with these perfect images online, and that creates a perception of us that we need to be a certain height or weight or
yes,
whatever. But it's not about that. And we are here to reframe the concept of health, and I'm so happy to just see your transformation and the changes that you went through. And I know that you will still keep transforming more and keep learning more now that we are not working together anymore. I would love, quick, I know we have to jump off the call in a second, but what would you tell someone that is currently also feeling like you felt in the beginning, of making a change and being scared of the change? Like, what would you tell that person?
okay, two things. One thing is to know your thoughts are not you. So if your thoughts are just bad thinking patterns because of some unfortunate inputs, right? Someone said something when you were little. Like usually it's such an interesting exercise. You sit with someone and you're like, why do you think this started? And they'd be like, when I was 12, I was told that I have chubby arms. And so ever since I've been obsessed with it. But just imagine a 12-year-old child probably weighs okay, right? That wasn't the problem. It was definitely an emotional problem. So it has to be solved at an emotional level. So I think this, like, we can't control what people say, but we can definitely have a narrative on our own thoughts. So when major thoughts come up of like, this is too much, this is overwhelming, take a step back and being like, okay, how can I just sit with this feeling and do nothing about it? It's fine. If it's overwhelming, let me just breathe into the overwhelm and let it pass. I don't have to make major changes. I can make very, very tiny changes in the right direction. What matters is I am in the right direction. Just imagine if you set out to go to one country and you're going slowly, but you know eventually you'll reach that destination rather than completely being in the wrong direction. You're never going to reach your direction, right? The speed does not matter. So I think the idea of like it needs to happen now, it needs to happen fast. One needs to let go of that idea because now getting to know yourself is a better way I would reframe it. So if there's one thing to tell someone who's really scared and has done lots of things, it's like, okay, how about you start a process of getting to know through mini experiments what works for you. Customize your life and your plate and your health for yourself. And I think that is a good way to look at it.
I love that. That's wonderful. And I love that you shared that your thoughts are not you and are not your
Yes,
reality, and that we need to detach ourselves from our thoughts, because our thoughts can make us feel worse and worse and worse. And sometimes I feel
yeah,
like meditation really helps stepping outside of it and actually looking at our thoughts from like, outside, and seeing them
yes,
as a different entity than what we are. Because
yeah,
that's what, at the end of the day, what you said, like it holds people back in living their true self, and
yes,
in actually achieving the goal, because transformation takes time. It's not always an easy process. And when you only always look for the end goal, like the process is actually what's the most enjoyable part about life, right? It's like
yeah,
also when you always strive for happiness, you're never going to be happy.
yeah,
Happiness comes right now, right in that very
yes,
moment. Because if you think that in 20 years, once you reach 150 goals, you're going to be happy, you completely missed the point. So I really love this, Nupur. This was so, so beautiful. Thank you so
No,
much.
this was amazing. Thank you, Jess.
I know you have to have another call in 2 minutes. So I really, enjoyed working with you and seeing your transformation. And I cannot wait to stay in touch with you. And I hope that one day, maybe we'll meet in
You meet.
right? We have to.
Yes, we must meet when things are open. But thank you so much, Jess. It's been like you've been so pivotal in everything. And I think it's your kindness and the way you approach things. It's just like allowing people to be is what definitely sets you apart and this program apart of just like viewing it from a very 360. Like people aren't just an equation of in and out of like this is the gallery and this is the workout. It's like so much more complex than that. So thank you so much for being so available. I can't imagine the amount of energy it takes to be available to be so many people and their problems and their psychological issues. So thank you so much.
That's why I need to also create a lot of space for myself, because otherwise I'll be like, nope, I can't do it anymore. But I appreciate you seeing the work as well. So thank you so much, Nupur. I hope you have a great day.
You too.
I hope work is okay for you now, getting back from
Yes.
vacation. And I'll talk to you very soon. All right.
Thank
Thank
you. Talk to you soon.
you.
Bye.
That was it, my plentiful goddess. Thank you so much for listening to this. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Feel free to reach out to me on Instagram and let's connect on there. If you have any questions, make sure you reach out. If you're also interested in working with me, that's where you will find me. Again, reach out to me directly on Instagram. We can start talking, we can get on a call and see how it is that I can support you. I would really love to help you out. So make sure you are doing it right now. Other than that, thank you so much, and I'll see or hear you later, or you'll hear me later. Have a good day, everyone.